Welcome back to Strength Cultures Podcast, number one in the hearts, number one in the charts. We are back with Luke Leaman from Muscle Nerds. Personally, my favorite episode that we've had so far. And back by popular demand, because how could we not go back into the tren-tok realm? After that thing went viral, there was response comments, there was all sorts of shit. So I wanted to come in and get Luke back on and dive a bit deeper in some of those topics, but also explain just how well-versed Luke is on a whole range of topics when it comes to health and fitness and training, and actually get some good valuable information as well, not just Harry Potter fucking Trembledore trend jokes or whatever. But what was your take on all of that, man? That went fucking hot.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I saw that and was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it was pretty eye-opening, especially some of the comments. The comments were like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Now I know why I'm not on TikTok.
They really wanted the doses.
That's
what I was. They were cracking, and they were cracking it at Jamie for telling him to listen to the podcast.
They were calling me trash. They were like, no one's going to listen to your trash podcast or whatever. I'm like,
it's like, this is not your way to listen to the podcast. Like, dude, I don't think we just want to advertise gear dosages on TikTok.
Well, the thing is, it's free advice, and you can just go to the podcast, and it's not bleeped out there.
Yeah. Well, no, some people explicitly said they would not be doing that because we bleeped it out.
Yeah.
So silly.
Their loss.
I actually had a guy, he texted me last week, and he goes, hey, man, I've been on Tren, and I'm getting all these sides. What do I take for the sides? I go, well, why don't you just take less Tren? How about that? Or just maybe no Tren.
Step back. Step back. There was, what was his name? D-Tren.
D-Tren or something.
D-Tren had a response video. Apparently he's the emperor of tren-tok.
So there was a period where, like, you know, with veganism, like, people had like vegan in their like Instagram handle, like it became a part of their identity. Is that become what Tren is like? Tren has become part of. They put in there like,
man, this guy 100%.
This guy is this guy is like Tren embodied. Apparently, his name's like D-Tren 00 something, like
600
he calls himself Daddy Tren.
Daddy Tren,
yeah,
spokesperson for Tren.
Well, it's funny because they hear that small snippet, and then he did this whole, and I watched it. I was like, I guess he tagged you guys in it or something.
Yeah,
so.
somehow on TikTok you can like respond to the video with another video, and it sort of like puts them together.
Yeah, and so I'm listening to him talk, and he's making some wild assumptions about what we were doing back then. It's like, you got a 5-second clip of something. You have no fucking idea. And everything he said that they were doing this, and they were probably doing this, he was completely fucking wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we really didn't know what we were doing. We could only make assumptions because tren acetate coming out of cattle pellets was kind of a new thing to fill a gap on not being able to get parabolin anymore. But what we were doing is we said, well, what's the dosage for parabolin? It makes sense to do that. Me going to 8, can I say the milligrams?
Yeah, wait, this is the podcast. We might beep it out again.
Yeah, me jumping over 800 milligrams per week of tren was just like, I wonder what will happen. I did it. That was really fucking stupid. Won't do that again. Yeah. So that's why I'm adamant too that a lot of guys are doing tren these days and they don't have any business doing it. Like, guys are jumping in and taking massive cycles. Even the young guys. I know guys that are in their late teens, early 20s. It's like, you just started lifting 6 months ago and you just jumped on the tren train. Yeah. You haven't done anything. As long as you train and see what you're capable of naturally first, once you peak that out, and you know how to train, you have good training literacy, you have good nutritional literacy, lifestyle literacy, you've got all these things done, you can go really far that way, then put the gas in when it's starting to not happen anymore. But people, they don't want to wait anymore.
They do 2 years of natty gains or whatever, and it just sort of...
If that. But I know a lot of coaches who just automatically put people on shit. You go to a guy and you're like, hey, I want to do bodybuilding. He goes, okay, cool.
Here's your list.
Yeah, it's like, what should I do for training? Well, first let's talk about drugs. Like, cool. I don't know how to bench press or squat. We'll just do drugs. That'll fix everything.
It's a funny thing that Mike Israetel even talking about just bodybuilding. He wrote, it's like everyone writing about like, my metabolism is on fire. It's like, it's a furnace right now. It's like, bro, all the fucking diuretics and the rest, just eat less. It's like, just eat less. Like, what are you doing? Like, you see some people like, yeah, I'm eating 4,000 calories, like 8 weeks out, shredded. It's like, man, what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah, you're taking DNP.
Yeah,
that's what they're taking.
That's nuts. There's stories.
DNP was a
well,
fun
isn't the diuretic the dangerous one? That's the one that sort of...
Well, it depends on what diuretic. So things like Lasix, that's the one. That's the big one. right? Because it's
where people literally die.
Yeah,
acutely die. Like
Yeah.
not an acute response is
Yeah, because you got to be really careful, especially going into a bodybuilding show. If you're taking something that harsh, you really have to know what you're doing because you can take the wrong thing and it can fuck you up, give you a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's a whole nother world. And then it was just amazing how aggressive that kind. But you were just saying they were even ripping into your bloody tattoos.
Yeah, my tattoos. Like, you should be ashamed about the tattoo. You shouldn't be embarrassed about Harry Potter. You should be embarrassed about that fucking tattoo. Yeah, fuck you. I don't give a fuck what you think. All these keyboard warriors, they wouldn't say shit if we were in the room together. They'd be like, I love your tattoos. That's great. Cool mashup.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. One thing I did want to discuss a little bit. So you alluded to it there. But even just from your own experience and going through that, obviously you've been through it yourself, and we can only speak from our own experience of observing people make these, call them errors or mistakes in their journeys. But going back to those times, would you do it again? Would you
do it differently?
Like, what would you?
Yeah, I think so. I think
like advice for those people who are a couple years in, because we know it is, and it seems to be a growing trend.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been there, but I think now people talk about it more, and there's more exposure because of social media, and people are more comfortable saying, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this. I've always been transparent with everybody. When I do education, I tell them all the stuff I've done. If I was on something now, I'd tell anybody, but you can obviously tell I'm not on anything. In fact, I can't get anything here, so it's illegal. So I still want to get my citizenship, so I just be small, with no libido or weak hard-ons. I'm trying to find a doctor. If you're a doctor listening to this and you want to help me out, I'm hypogonadal. Please give me some testosterone. Yeah. But that's hard too. I went to a doctor a few weeks ago because I had this lingering sore throat, and I showed up. I've never been to this guy before, and he opens the door and he's like, he looks like he's from Nairobi or something. I'm like, oh, this guy will give me whatever the fuck I want, no problem. This is one of those tiny clinics. You walk in, he's like, okay, what do you want? So we talk, and he's writing out my prescriptions for antibiotics and all this shit. And he goes, I want you to get some blood work. When's the last time you got blood work? I went, well, last September. And he goes, okay, I want you to get blood work. I said, don't worry about that. I'll order my own labs because I'm going to order a lot more than you're going to put on there. And he goes, well, what would you put on there? I said, well, I'd probably put on testosterone, estradiol, blah, blah, blah. He goes, do you have low testosterone? I go, well, on my last one, I had low free and I had low total testosterone. So I'd like to talk to you about possibly getting on some TRT. And he looks me up and down and he goes, I don't think you need it. No. And I went, fuck, man. Because the doctors here, they just think it's about your muscles.
Yeah.
But I'm 44 years of age. I'm hypogonadal. It's like, it's not about that. It's about the antidepressant qualities. It's about the lack of sleep qualities, the stress. It's about a lot more than just that.
So even going through that with the doctor, they still would be pretty hesitant to prescribe it.
Yeah, it's still that. Now, you go down the Gold Coast, you're cool. You go down the Gold Coast, they'll write you anything you want. Yeah. You walk in, there's a bunch of other meatheads in there. Everybody's ignoring each other, or either that or they're eyeballing each other, going, oh, who's got the biggest biceps? Yeah. You go in, they go, all right, cool, I'll write you anything you want to test, Anavar, Tren. Okay. Also, here's a voucher for a free neck tattoo at my tattoo clinic.
The combo deal.
That's the Gold Coast thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you from a viewpoint of what I tell people, because obviously when people come to coach, if they're competing, you're going to have that conversation. I never bring it up. I don't actually train very many people that are on gear. And that's always a personal choice for them, but it's my job to tell them how to do it so they don't fuck themselves up.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the last thing I want is somebody to take a bunch of shit, end up in the hospital, and then everybody knows I'm coaching them. I'm like, hold up, I didn't tell them to do that. So I'll always advise what to do. But what I always tell people is take the smallest amount possible and see what that does. And if you get to the point where that's not doing it anymore, you can always add a little bit more, add a different compound. But if you go full bore, it's hard to pull back on it. So like my thing for most guys is just take TRT dose and see what that does. Because for a lot of guys, if you just take a TRT dose, that'll put 3 or 4 kilos on you in a month. And then you can add a little bit more if that's not enough. But guys don't want to do that. They want to jump into 2 grams.
Yeah, they just jump straight in.
This is where your boy D-Trend disagrees with you. We were on his TikTok just before having a look at him, and he's like, so listen here, guys. He's like, if I get a lot of people ask me, I recommend don't do it. But if you're going to do it, you got to jump on 500 of testosterone, not 400, not 600, not 300. It's got to be 500. 100. So that's your boy
It's so
disagrees
silly.
with you, man.
That's so
it.
silly. It's like,
just
why
dive
is
into
why
the
is
deep end.
500 the magic number?
I was going to say, who do we listen to here? Do we listen to the guy with the sound logical advice, or do we listen to the guy who has the number
And the name.
and the name?
The name's the big one.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Because I remember a couple of years ago, I was in the Netherlands teaching, and one of the guys in class wanted to train with us, and we said, that's cool. And he goes, I've known him for a long time as well. He's older, he's got kids, he's stressed out, he doesn't sleep, he's got a business, so he's going to have low testosterone most likely. And I said, well, let's start out with like 160 milligrams of test. Let's start out with like 160, just standard TRT dose, and just see what that does. The guy put on like 6 kilos in a month. And then he goes, what else do we need? I go, well, do you need any, do you need any, why, like you put on 6 kilos, why don't we ride with that for a while, and then maybe we'll go up to like 250, 300 and see what that does. So he calls me and he goes, listen, my friend's a biochemist. He says, this is not enough. I need so much more than this. You just put on 6 fucking kilos of fat-free mass in a month. Like, how is that not working for you? So then he decided he wanted to take a bunch more, and I went, that's fine, I'll just fire you.
I'm done.
I just stopped training. And,
100%.
Yeah.
Especially,
It's just like body dysmorphia. And whatever they get, it's just never enough.
Right.
And do you reckon that's an issue that needs to be addressed more so than just jumping on more gear?
100%.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
Actually crazy.
I think part of it, too, is it's something I teach, something I taught over the weekend. When we talk about hypertrophy and men usually go into bodybuilding for one of two reasons. To get pussy or they've been bullied. Like, that's usually it. And, they call it putting on your gorilla suit. So a lot of the guys that want to get really big, they had sand kicked in their face for a long time, and they said, well, the bigger I get, people won't fuck with me, which is not true. The bigger you get, the more small guys, especially drunk guys, want to fuck with you. But I think it's just a lot of it goes with the psychology. Like, they didn't get enough hugs, or they didn't get enough affirmations when they were growing up.
Some trauma, childhood trauma.
Yeah, so it's the same thing, with women who want to look better. They do a bunch of stuff, get their lips done, get boobs, get their butts done, or whatever. It's all a lack of self-confidence issue, trying to make yourself feel better, and then it's never enough.
Yeah. Have you done bodybuilding?
I did men's bikini.
Men's bikini. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
Is that one of the board shorts?
Yeah.
The board shorts one.
Yeah. So when I
physique,
men's physique. Yeah. So the first time I got on stage, this was right before men's physique became a thing. And do you remember the supplement company BSN?
Yeah. Fucking oath.
Yeah. So this is going way back, and they had the Europa, IFBB Europa. So it was one of the biggest bodybuilding shows after the Arnold's. So you'd have like 400 competitors there. They had CrossFit games there, grappling.
Oh, it's like a full-blown
thing, right? And they did not. It was either bodybuilding or nothing for guys. So then BSN said, well, we're going to do this kind of model search thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what they wanted. So I called the promoter. I go, what are you looking for? Because I don't want to do this. I don't want to suffer for months and then get on stage
for the wrong thing.
For the wrong thing. He's like, oh, it's whatever. We don't really know. Just show up. I showed up. I was like the fucking Incredible Hulk in front. Everybody else on stage were like Abercrombie models.
Yeah.
They were all like 60 kilos, and I'm up there like 105, like raw. And needless to say, I did not do well in that. But then the year after that, or 2 years after that, they started doing men's physique, and I did a few shows for that. And then
what years were these?
What
year was this?
That would have been early 2000s, maybe 2004.
Yeah, early.
Yeah, but then I got bored because my ADD. I got bored with it. I was like, I'm not built for this. I don't want to do this, and I didn't want to do bodybuilding. My friend goes, do bodybuilding. You're built for bodybuilding. I go, nah, man. I don't have a dick big enough to get in that banana hammock. and he looks at me and he goes, bro, nobody's got a big dick at 3%. Yeah, true.
More trend.
So I got back into powerlifting after that for a few years, and then I got bored with that because everybody was all the fucking supportive gear.
Yeah, and that's what you were speaking of.
It.
Yeah, with the first episode we did. Yeah. Because the bodybuilding, I know why have you decided that it was never going to be? Initially, it was like, we spoke about this last week.
I've got a couple of reasons. So when we first started Strength Culture 2016, I really wanted to do men's physique for some reason. I still think I was very much down that bodybuild. I used to like the physical thing, like but the longer I went on and I started training, pure strength training, competing in powerlifting, And then I started to actually come to terms with what bodybuilding was and what it would require of me. I just was like, not for me.
Yeah.
I like food too much. That's one reason. I like powerlifting. That's another reason. And I just, the longer my life's gone on, I'm like, you know what? I enjoy having a few beers on the weekend or cheese and wine.
Yeah.
With the girlfriend.
Cheese and wine. We like our cheese. Just like things like that. It's not a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. Whereas you want to. Yeah. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, October next year.
18 months.
Oh, yeah, nice.
The road's mapped out.
Crazy. I was about to pull out. Like a year out.
18 months out.
I was 18 months out. Well, no, not to pull out. No, so my coach pushed me to do it.
Wait, you said yesterday you were doing it.
Listen.
I'm going to pull out.
I'm getting there. So I've been watching a whole bunch of 3DMJ content, like Alberto Nunez, and he's
a weapon.
It's like, keep massing. And I'm like, oh, maybe I need another year of massing before I do it. Yeah. And it's like, to me, it's not about winning. I know that that's not
process.
It's the process. It's the process of doing it. It's just like the delayed gratification. 1 to 2, 3 years of a process to. It's not even the day. It's not the day to me. It's like what that process could potentially teach me.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to think of it now. Like I had boxing and Muay Thai and that was like my reason then. And this to me, it seems like something I want to do. I don't know if it's a long-term forever thing. I just want to do a show. You know what I mean? Just to see what
18 months, October.
I messaged the guys, ICN. Sussed them out. So I can go. It's not a qualifier. You don't have to qualify for it. It's not like championships.
Here we go.
That's it.
What advice have you got?
Stay tuned for my full day of eating.
I mean, I've got the opposite reason why I won't bodybuild anymore, because I have to win. Like, it's not about. It's never about the process. To me, it's about domination and winning. So
great goals, but they're wrong.
Yeah,
they're wrong.
Look, man, the whole journey will teach you a lot about yourself. A lot, because it's just it's a journey of suffering. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to do well if you're not willing to suffer, and that's why so few people can do it, because you're going to be suffering for, I don't want to,
it's going to be a while.
It's going to suck.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to suck. Like, shit's just going to fall apart. Like, your body, like your mental state will fall apart, your psychological state, you start getting the sidles. Suicidal, genocidal, homicidal. Yeah, you get
the trifecta.
Yeah, I'm kidding. It's not actually.
That's the stack you're looking for.
Look, it's actually not that bad. It's not that bad if you take your time. I think a lot of people try to rush the process, and they don't give themselves enough time because they don't realize how much fat they have to lose. They're like, oh, I just need to lose like 10 kilos. Bro, you're going to have to lose like 22.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to lose a lot
I've heard
more.
this before. People think they've got like, 7 or 8 kilos left, and it's like, no, you got
more.
15, 16.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, because when I was competing back then, you didn't have to be as shredded as you do now. Like now, if you
conditioning.
Yeah, if you don't have a walnut ass, you're not going to do well. So you do have to dig a lot deeper. You have to be willing to lose a little lean body mass, especially for naturals. But I would tell you, the slower you take it, the better. And a lot of people will go, well, I'll do the old 12, 16-week shred and then get on stage. And you probably want to do like at least 24 weeks.
Yeah, well, my first cut is starting in October.
Yeah.
So the first, and that'll go.
Oh, your first phase. Yeah.
First phase, and then it'll be just to hold for a few months. And then I'm sure the real dig deep will happen.
Yeah.
Turn the gas up again.
Turn the gas up. That's it. Yeah.
What's nice is you get to a point where you're hungry at first, and then your body just assumes that you're not going to find any food. So you go through this period of like irritation, but you're not that hungry anymore. You're just tired all the time.
Yeah,
you're just fucking tired. Everything's a fucking mission. You'd be sitting on your couch, you're like, oh, man, I really got to take a shit. And you're like, God damn, the bathroom's so far away. I'll just wait. I'll wait until the turtle head's sticking out, and then hopefully I'll make it.
That was Dean McKillop told us a story like that years ago when we had him on our old podcast, and he literally was walking, and he's like, I just had to focus on putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
He was deep in the prep, and he's just like, he told his girlfriend or fiance,
don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me. I just need to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
That's all I can focus on right now.
He's a fucking weapon, man. I love him.
He's a sick guy.
He's a cool guy.
He looks so good.
When he looks
He's
fantastic.
got a crazy body.
Yeah.
one of the shows he was doing when he decided to get back into it. He was like, we met up and we were hanging out, and I'm sitting there eating like a fucking chili cheese dog in front of him, and he's just sitting there. I'm like, does this not bother you? He goes, nah. Fuck, man, I'd be losing my shit.
Yeah. Crow said that. He's like a robot as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is the conversations that I've been having like with my coach and even watching like Alberto Nunez stuff. It's like think less, like set up your life to think less, because the thought takes away from everything else. Like you want to be a better partner, that neuroticism around food and when to eat and do this and whatever else, like, yeah, all right, you may get lean, but you're probably going to be a piece of shit everywhere else.
Fuck everything else.
You know what I mean? It's like this guy is like, it's his choice to diet. Like I would say, it seems like Dean, like I don't know him personally, but he's got everything in check. Everything. Yeah, enough to the point where it's like, eat whatever the fuck you want, man. I know I'm sweet.
Yeah, he's like that. He's like that. He's just, when he sets his mind on something, it's non-negotiable. He just does it. And I can't do that anymore. I used to do that, and I'm too old now.
I remember because I had a conversation with him a couple of years ago, but you were saying like, oh, the suffering and all that. He was like, it's not that bad. He was just of the mindset like it's really not that hard. Yeah. He was like, I just kept going into it, and I just finished, and I was like, oh, that's it. Yeah.
I think you just have to get it in your head to have a big enough extrinsic motivator, and then really like.
The why. Start with why.
Yeah, look in and draw that into some type of hard intrinsic motivator that allows you to stay on track.
Exactly
when it
what.
I was gonna say, I sometimes feel like that when people complain, and I personally think powerlifting peaks. Like I don't think they're that tough at all, but people will like literally complain about them like they're the worst thing ever. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like they're that tough. I'm like, you're just lifting weights.
First thing, it's your choice.
Well, I always double down on that. It's my choice. So I'm lifting weights.
So you're saying they say the powerlifting stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people think that powerlifting, my central nervous
they're like, the peaking's too hard. I don't want to compete because like the peak's too hard. And I'm like, it's not that hard.
It's not.
You're doing less as every other training.
You're doing less training.
We're doing some singles and shit. That's it.
Out of every sport I've ever done, powerlifting was the easiest.
Yeah.
It was
That's what I think.
I could still eat ding-dongs and ho-hos and corn dogs.
And I finish a deadlift session, I go get a pizza. It's like, it's mad. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of people say it.
I think it, like you talk about like the biopsychosocial model, but I think there's just like this cultural, cultural sort of expectation that training gets harder in powerlifting, which it definitely does. Like as you get stronger and you can tolerate more volume and you require more volume for stimulus and all that sort of stuff. But I think somehow that's latched on to a peak. And then everyone thinks that because we're getting closer and closer, it should be getting harder. But in reality, it's really not. You're doing less training.
I think there's an element of it too that I've noticed with the culture in powerlifting is that a lot of people take the piss like when they're 3-4 blocks out from comp. They take the piss a lot. Like, they don't fucking train hard. They
skip. Yeah.
And we spoke about this with John Trannies. Like people just doing their accessories, like whatever, like curls and just done. And then they actually get to a peaking block and they go, I got to put some work in and try and train hard because I want to get the numbers I want. And they realize what hard training actually should feel like, and there's a bit more fatigue builds up and all that. So I reckon there's an element of that too, and as well as it's probably all of it, psychological. It's a cultural thing too, but yeah, deadlifts and then pizza. It's mad. I'm a piece of shit when I cut, is what I wanted to say. We did an 8-week cut, and the last 2 weeks from week 6 to 8, all I could talk about was food. I was in there training 2 hours, and just all I could talk about was food.
How much weight did you lose?
No, I got lean.
Yeah, but how much
I got lean for me. How much? 6 kilos.
Yeah.
Nice. You walk into the bathroom, he's got a recipe book. He's like, cake, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally what I was like, steak. I was like,
I honestly think next time for you, if we go longer than 4 weeks, like if it's 6 week plus, we'll diet break every 4 weeks for you.
No, I reckon that's the strategy. 4 weeks, diet break, 4 weeks, diet break.
Yeah. Like especially if you're going to do an extended one, like fill out 110s, we're going to diet break like fucking. Yeah. Because if I have to hear you talk about food fucking.
Well, mate, I was just going to say this earlier. He's just bought it. Yeah, obviously Texan. What was the
Tejas?
No, what was the town called again?
Mahia.
He just bought a smoker.
No, I didn't buy a smoker. I bought a Weber kettle.
It's
a jumbo kettle, but it's a kettle barbecue.
Yeah. But he's full blown smoking meats.
I'm gonna buy a smoker. Yeah,
nice.
It's a good hobby.
Yeah,
next time you're in Melbourne, he'll cook you up one.
Man, fucking oath, we'll do it. It's something about. I think it's also the Greek roots. We like charcoal. It's definitely, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's a very Greek thing.
It is.
Light up charcoal.
But you got to set it up in the front yard.
Yeah.
You can't be.
We do it in the driveway.
It's got to be in the front yard. You got to have tracks play, and they got to see. You got to see us
in the driveway.
Yeah. But, I think I'm going to pick up smoking, like cigarettes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a few things that popped into my head. Then
that'll come in handy when you're dieting.
Yeah, 100%.
Chain smoking.
Oh, really?
Nicotine.
Well, I guess.
Nicotine.
I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean,
because it just replaces.
I don't smoke.
It just
I
replaces.
do nicotine, but I don't smoke.
Yeah.
How do you consume your nicotine? Vape?
No.
No.
What? Do I look like the kind of motherfucker that vapes?
Not really. There's
Stranger things have happened.
Two things that are all the rage these days with the youngins on TikTok. It's vaping and tren.
Next to the tren will go in the
New
vape.
age, man.
Yeah, no, I do that, man. I
Got little chews.
the little minis.
This might sound because I know that there's a cognitive
nicotine.
is it focus? Is that what it is?
Focus.
Yeah,
Focus.
yeah.
Yeah.
How does that how does that even work?
Well, for me, because of my ADD, I can only get a certain amount of my medication here in Australia. They won't give me more.
Yeah.
I actually need more. So that's why I abuse stimulants, because it calms me down.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, the nicotine calms me down. Everything that is massive stimulant to other people, actually, it calms me down. It doesn't hype me up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So caffeine, how does caffeine affect you?
Caffeine just focus and calms me down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll go way back in my fun days. Like you go out and you do a little white rhino, and everybody else is like, woo! I'm like, cool. It's like I took a fucking Valium. I'm like,
I've heard this before. People that take Ritalin for like partying and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's one kid that it does nothing for. It actually does the opposite. It's like,
that's me.
You're the one that needs it.
That's the one that actually needs it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of cognitive
explain
things
a lot.
that can go with nicotine, but part of it's
No comment.
It's
Self-diagnosed?
Oh, I guess so. the one time I took Ritalin, I was like, this shit is nothing for me.
Ritalin shit, though, man. Ritalin shit. I started on that when I was a kid, and all it did was make me a fucking zombie. It calmed me down too much. Because it's too fast. Adderall, never like that, but the Vyvanse is good because it's time released. So I can take one in the morning, and I'm pretty steady all day. And then when it wears off at night is when I become a maniac. And my wife is like, dude, just go play video games or something. Just get the fuck out of here.
You just got to direct it somewhere.
What happens to you at night?
I get super manic.
Oh, really?
Just erratic and do this task into that
erratic,
task.
doing really weird things. Really weird.
What's the weirdest thing you've done?
I mean, I can't tell you that. I don't know. But I'll tell you one weird thing I did. So
something weird.
I can remember being in London, and we're staying at a friend's house, and I started getting like kind of a manic episode. I was walking around, didn't have a shirt on. I was eating banana, and I don't know why. I just started rubbing the banana all over my chest in front of my wife and my friend, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm eating a banana." I was like, they were like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, so I got back on my meds.
Yeah, crazy.
You just get weird thoughts and shit, and you get silly. It's silly stuff. Right?
Yeah, so it's like it's probably how people sometimes behave on other substances.
Yeah,
and they get a bit stupid and do dumb shit.
Yeah, because the ADD thing is. Some people think it's like not that it's a superpower. There's a very funny episode of Flagrant 2 Do you know who Andrew Schultz is?
Yeah, I fucking love him.
Yeah, and they're talking about like ADD and I think autism and then Asperger's, and they were just talking about like some people can like they say it's a superpower. I don't know if you'd call it a superpower, but has ADD helped you in certain areas of being able to focus on things you enjoy and all of those sort of things? Like,
yeah, so it can cripple you too, though, because it can affect a lot of other things in your life where I'm massively disorganized, very forgetful. With people and there's a lot of different forms of ADD. It's like 6 or 7 different types, depending on what symptoms you get. But for my type, it's like I drop balls all the time. That's why when people ask me about shit, I'm like, just talk to Zoe because she's the organized one. The good thing is you can get hyper-focused. If you find something like what I do is my passion, so it's easy for me to sit down for 12 hours, just knock it out. But if I get a phone call, I'm fucked. I'm fucked for like 2 hours trying to get back on track. So you're easily distractible, hyper-focused, easy to be distracted. But then the rest of your life is just a fucking mess. Like, oh, I haven't paid bills in 6 months. Oh, I just totally forgot. Because when you have ADD, if it's out of sight, out of mind, so it can have a really negative impact on relationships you have with people because you just forget you have parents that you probably need to talk to, or you have like friends you need to talk to, or like it can be socially awkward from that connection type issue. Yeah. Right. But it has been helpful for me because it can have really nice effects on your memory. Like I can recall stuff. I can learn something one time and own it. I don't have to struggle to learn things. And the medication helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're saying like the hyper focus, would obviously having a passion for like health and fitness and all of that sort of stuff, do you think that has in any way impacted how well you've been able to create what you have with Muscle Nerds, and then all the things that happen prior to that as well?
Yeah, 100%. And it allows you to come up with ideas that other people might not think about, because you're constantly obsessing about this stuff. So you're constantly thinking about it. And then you're constantly trying to make abstract things out of some of the information you're getting.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I think a lot of those, like the stigma around a lot of those sort of like cognitive or mental sort of struggles or battles, or would you call them a disorder? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'd probably call it a disorder. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the name, it says disorder.
It is in the name. Yeah, but all the other ones as well. Like I think the stigma around all of those things are starting to change now. Understanding of them are starting to improve. And
the only problem is now everybody thinks they have ADD.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, as somebody who's had it since they were a kid, it's not something you necessarily want. And it's sometimes offensive to us when they're like, "Yeah, I think I've got ADD." I'm like, "No, you're just lazy."
Yeah,
like,
that's me.
Yeah.
Because whenever I say I go, I'm like, no, you're just a lazy procrastinator. But I definitely think that today, I don't know, this is my assumption, that it's made us, for me, have found like social media, we've got so much shit at our disposal, has probably made my attention worse, and with a lot of other kids as well, like with YouTube, podcasts,
it's all there.
Social media, Instagram, everything's there, and we're always chopping and changing our focus. And like, so even when I sit down, like I play a bit of guitar and try to learn, like I do 10 minutes and then I'm doing something else, and then like back, and I'm like, how the fuck can I fucking focus for 30 minutes and try and learn this little bit of music or whatever.
You're right, man. You're right. It's the way that everyone's being conditioned to have no attention span now. Yeah. And that's been my life the whole time. Like you start projects you never finish, and I bought a guitar. I'm going to learn how to. That lasted a week, and then I gave up on that. I was like, well, what's the next cool thing? So you're always chasing shiny nickels, and you can't help it. And you're not trying to do that, and you're not trying to disappoint people in certain areas. It's part of your mental state.
How you think.
Can't really change it. Yeah. Let's go all the way back to the start of like your journey in health and fitness. Then, for it to become a passion, who was some of like your initial, like what got you into it? When you first started, like how'd you find it?
Yeah, so I mean, I got into lifting for Texas football. Yeah, because when you're a kid in Texas, when you're a guy, you're expected to play football. Like it is non-negotiable. So I went, I started at 7 or 8 years old. I started lifting weights. Most of it was because I saw
7 or 8.
Yeah,
wow.
But I got into that aspect because I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian. I went, I want to look like that. And then I looked at my dad, who was 5'7", little, like an Austrian Jewish guy, and I was like, oh, fuck. But then my parents' side, or my mom's side, is all German, so they're all tall. Like I'm the smallest guy on my mom's side, the biggest side on my dad's side. So I went, okay, maybe this will kind of balance itself out. I'll get my mom's height and my dad's stocky build, and I did. But I started getting into it because I wanted to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then
classic entry, everyone,
right? And then it kind of moved into getting ready for American football, and I had a lot of really good coaches, which is not normal in high school for us to have good coaches, but I had really good coaches who were ex-powerlifters. So I started the powerlifting team at my high school, and we did that. And then I went to college and got more in the bodybuilding type stuff there, and then back in the powerlifting, and so back and forth through a bunch of different strength sports. But I guess my career started in 1992 when you had Muscle Media and like T-Mag came out, and I get exposed to Charles Poliquin, who became my main mentor for strength and conditioning. Yep. So him and Paul Chek and all these guys. So Charles started doing certifications, and I couldn't really afford to do one, so I just saved up. And in 2007, I flew to Chicago and met Charles, and then I was hooked because the culture he had at Poliquin Strength Institute at the time was amazing. You didn't find that anywhere else. And so I started doing everything I could with him. And then eventually I got asked to come on and do assistant
presenting
teaching.
And all that sort of stuff. And you can learn more about that in the first episode. So you said Paul Chek, because I know we've consumed a little bit of Paul Chek, and is one of his philosophies like this pillar thing?
Yeah, the totem pole.
The totem pole, yeah. And then what were some of the other? So, like you said, 2007. That was probably like the forum days and all of that sort of stuff. Like, how'd you come across Poliquin?
I came through Muscle Media.
Muscle Media, and then what's that, like a magazine or something?
Yeah, they're online now. So it was. You remember EAS, the supplement company?
Nah.
So creatine.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Charlie knows creatine.
Creatine. Yeah. So Bill Phillips he created EAS and brought creatine to the market and a bunch of other supplements, and kind of the first proper meal replacement powders that actually tasted good and protein powders that tasted good. So he created a magazine called Muscle Media, and it was like super hardcore. They were talking about drugs and they were talking about all sorts of shit. Then he sold out and started going mainstream. But in the early days, you had Paul Chek was in the magazines. You had Charles Staley was in the magazines. Charles Poliquin, all those guys. So then when they sold out, they started an online thing called testosterone.net, and that's what T-Mag is now. I think it's called T-Mag now, or T-Nation.
T-Nation.
Yeah, so they were super hardcore. And then they had some of the best strength and conditioning guys, nutrition guys, steroid guys on it. And then now they kind of petered out. Now they're not really that big of a thing anymore.
Yeah, so T-Nation was a huge.
Gone now.
Yeah,
it's there.
That was one of the big rocks of like our development. We chatted about this last week in like our initial people that influenced us and how we got to where we're at now. But T-Nation was a fucking massive rock. That was where we found majority of the people that.
Yeah. It was cool back then because it wasn't like now where they just throw up random articles. They always threw up articles on Friday. So you'd sit at your computer and you just keep hitting enter, keep hitting enter, keep hitting enter. And then we figured out how to get the articles before they were out because we figured out how they were doing the
source
URL
code or whatever.
Yeah. So then we could get it on like a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
But we consumed all that. She took all their supplements, the spray on T19 shit and all the other stuff.
Well, that's it. I was joking off air, but I think they sort of lost their way when they realized you can make a shit ton of sales online. Yeah. And it just sort of turned into this like every article.
There were some articles that were fantastic. And then they're like the piece that puts this all together is
this creatine or whatever.
This thing. Like it was just this specific supplement, something mag or mag 10 or some shit like that. Yeah. Because that was definitely my transition, was finding like bodybuilding.com. My old man like bought me old muscular development magazines. Like they were that and muscle and fitness, because he was like this 80s bodybuilder or whatever the fuck else. Choco.
He was a trend boy, wasn't he?
No, Us 250 was his deal. His deal. I rip him all the time. I use that to piss mum off. I go to mum, I'm like, hey mum, I'm getting on it next week. Just fucking no, you're not.
Like,
and I'm like, you can't talk shit. I'm like, old man was on it, and then he'd be like, oh yeah. I'm like, just know that I'm stronger and bigger than you, natural fucking dog. But I'll always use that. I'll always use that to piss mum off for the rest of my life. I forgot where I was at with that, but
muscle and fitness.
Yeah, so it was that, and then bodybuilding.com, and then into T-Nation, and it was such a good resource. It was such a good resource. But something I wanted to ask you, because like you mentioned like Charles Staley, and I think of like the escalating density training and methods, and you've just done this talk over the weekend on bodybuilding methods, and it's almost like like historical methods that I think that make training fun. You know what I mean? Like you can stick to a 3x8 to 10 forever, really, and probably make gains. You know what I mean? And like what I wanted to ask you is how much of looking into history of physical culture and training like that, how much of that informs your program design process now, and what do you think it's done for you and your development from a programming standpoint?
Well, if you look at where most people get their information nowadays, it's from the evidence-based crowd. And you can read tons of literature, and they'll say, "Well, this method doesn't work. This method does work." A lot of the research is a bit shit. It's low subject pools. A lot of times they don't do the protocols the way they were written. They don't control for nutrition. There's a lot of stuff that they don't look at, and so everybody's basing their methods on only what's literature based. It's not really evidence based, because evidence based is both application, empirical observation, and also using the rest of the scientific method and trying to falsify things or trying to test things. And a lot of the younger coaches have no idea about the golden era bodybuilders, who the researchers are testing their protocols. And those things have worked for 50, 60, 70 years. But now, because some dweeb in a science coat says it doesn't work, now everybody says, well, German volume training doesn't work. But they never go and look at the research and see if they actually did 10-set method.
Exactly what it was.
They don't, And they don't look at the limitations. The limitations are all talked about in those papers. 12 subjects in one paper, 13 subjects in the other. They didn't do the protocols the way they were originally designed. They didn't control for nutrition. The people had 1 year of training experience. Those are advanced protocols. And I think that a lot of the younger guys, they need to look back at some of the old school bodybuilding stuff, because those are the shoulders that we're standing on. And those guys figured out how this stuff worked just through trial and error and putting themselves through it. Even when you look at nutritional science as well, the amount of protein that they're suggesting keeps raising as they're figuring out how to measure these things better. So they get off of negative positive nitrogen balance and now looking at specific amino acid uptake. The ranges that they suggest have started at 1.2 grams per kilogram, and they're now at 1.8. And I read a paper 3 years ago, where the guy said, you might as well just take 2.2 grams per kilogram, because that's the direction that the protein amount is going. Yeah, and he says bodybuilders have known this since like the 50s. And there's been research showing that 3.3 to 4.4, there's no negative effects, only positive effects. So you might as well just say fuck it and just eat 2.2 and just not have a shadow of a doubt, right? But with a lot of the old school stuff, these kids, they don't know who Vince Gironda is. Like this class I had, I'm like, do you guys know who Vince Gironda is? They have no idea. Frank Zane, no idea. Franco Colombo. Arnold Schwarzenegger, everybody knows who that is, but they don't know anyone else. I said something about doing Scott curls, and somebody goes, what's a Scott curl? I'm like, sorry, let me translate. It's a preacher curl. But the original name for that was the Scott curl, named after Larry Scott when he was training on that bench at Vince Gironda's gym and had the biggest arms in all of bodybuilding. Yeah. But I'm massive into people understanding physical culture and where this stuff came from, and we don't want to lose that, because there's a lot of great protocols and great exercises that people could be doing that they're not doing because they just aren't being taught that.
Yeah, it's being washed away.
Yeah, like Zane curls. I love Zane curls. Most younger coaches have no idea what that is. Like, there's a ton of different things we could be doing.
I know who Frank Zane is. I don't know a Zane curl though. What is a Zane curl?
So grab a couple of dumbbells and you're holding them the whole time. You're holding them with flexion, and you go down and up, stop, down and up.
Oh, yes, stop. I have done them. So we used to do them.
Yeah. So you did them, but you didn't know what they were called, right? Yeah. But I think it's disingenuous that we're not paying homage to these guys, and what's old is new again. So people are renaming exercises that already have fucking names in them. Like we don't need to name this after you when we've been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. I saw somebody post a new dumbbell row that they invented, and they were going to name it after themselves. And I'm like, hold on a second. So I go to my bookshelf and I pull out Bill Pearl's Keys to the Inner Universe, which was written in 1978. And it's got every fucking old school bodybuilding exercise you could ever want to do. I go to the biceps section. There's a picture of them doing it as early as 1978. But now these people think it's news that they're going to name it after themselves. Here's the LEAMAN row. We've got names for this shit.
Do you reckon there's anything that hasn't been named? Do you reckon there's anything out there?
Probably not. If you're coming up with an exercise now that hasn't been named, there's probably a good reason why no one does it.
Tell that to Kasim.
Yeah. We've had this discussion as well, because we were joking about like coming up with an exercise that we're going to name after ourselves, but there's nothing.
There's nothing. Well, it's all been done.
And I'll play devil's advocate. I'm good friends with Kasim, and we don't agree on a lot of things. We take some polar views.
He hates us.
He's blocked us.
He's blocked all of us on Instagram.
That's one of the things I don't agree with him with. If you want to come up with stuff, then be willing to debate it and argue your point. Yeah. But I did get a bit irritated when they started like the CAS hip thrust, and I was like, "Fuck, man, it's just a quarter rep hip bridge at the top." Like that's. Yeah. But then I thought, you know what? Fuck it. So I call it the CAS hip thrust, and the reason is I'd rather do that than say I need you to do a hip thrust on bench, but only the quarter rep at the top. It's just easier to say do a CAS thrust because everybody knows what that is now.
Yeah. It's definitely he's made an impact. He has.
He has. I like his shit. Why the fuck did you block me, bro? I didn't say anything to you.
I didn't say anything either.
Yeah, he blocked all of us. He blocked the whole gym. He blocked all four of the coaches. I don't know.
He's off us. I like his shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
He does. He's got some great stuff. you know, and just like with everybody, I've got some good stuff and I've got some stuff that people think is just shit. And same thing with Kaz and everybody else. The more stuff you put out there, the more stuff people are going to find that they like this stuff, but they don't like this stuff. You know, I agree with a lot of his stuff. I disagree with a lot of his stuff as well. Like, I don't feel like we need to get so fucking pedantic about hitting 6 sarcomeres in your lower lat, you know? So I think if you just focus on pulling the muscle, finding exercises that work really well for you, and just keep working, getting stronger and bigger, everything's going to sort
this is actually a really good discussion that is on this like optimal versus just like getting the work done sort of discussion point. It sounds like you're very similar to us, where it's like just do the things you enjoy, train hard, make sure the principles are in play, and you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think there is a need for, you know, more targeted intent training like that as well. I use it a lot for like rehab stuff, or if I've got beginners, teaching them how to control things and how it's supposed to feel. But the way I look at it is some of that stuff where you're being really, really myopic about how you pull something and train, that's really good for beginners. And then when you get in the middle of your journey, you just need to fucking smash weights and get big and do things that, especially when you get older, do things that don't fucking hurt and find exercises that do feel good. But then I also see a need to put that stuff back in at the very end when you need to do that detail work. You know, because they're just smashing foundational movements isn't always going to build a symmetric, complete physique. Sometimes you need to now dial in some of those really, you know, look at the angle of the pull and the line of the pull and really dig into a certain aspect of a muscle. But I don't feel like people need to be doing that for a whole fucking workout.
Yeah.
No.
And taking 20 minutes to set up each exercise.
Yeah, I think it just gets back to the same point we had, which don't get caught in the weeds. Like most people, it's just not going to matter.
No, because this is the thing. Some of those movements feel fantastic. Yeah, they feel fantastic. But overthinking your training to that point, especially for like some of the early intermediates, it's like, dude, effort's probably the factor for you. Everything that I'm seeing from you right now is actually amazing form wise. Like, you look great. Yeah. Just fucking eat and train hard, man. And at that point, it's a funny one. It's a funny one, but it's something that I'm. Like, you don't have to hate someone fucking for having a different point. You can like a lot of different coaches and whatever else. It's like you can disagree. You know what I mean? I like who is Mike Boyle's like, be the best thief you can be sort of thing. Is man, just bit from this guy, bit from that guy. That's what's going to create you. And obviously you're going to have your biases, and I think that's why clients come to you, because of your biases. It's a shared bias. They come to you for whatever else, but just deal. Steal from a little bit. Obviously, give credit where credit's due.
Always give credit.
Yeah, always give credit.
Always give credit.
Always give credit.
But it's like that's what's going to create you. You're not just fucking fuck this guy because he disagrees with this one minor point. That guy's probably got 100 good points for
that's
the one
thing,
that you disagree with.
Everyone probably agrees on 99.9%
exactly.
Anyway. Like it's always these little fringe.
I think part of the problem is not enough context. When people and that's the problem with social media. You're watching a 1-minute clip and you're not getting the whole story. So, you know, if we're going to use specialized techniques like that, we need to figure out when it is and isn't appropriate. Most of the guys teaching that stuff, that who was it that came up with most of the stuff that they're I can't remember the name of the guy that Ben Pekulski and they all learned from, but like the functional range stuff or whatever. But none of them built their physiques like that. Yeah. They all built their physiques the way we all did, get in the trenches and get really fucking strong, really good at foundational movements, but that's not sexy. It doesn't sell.
Well, I was going to say is that they're also trying to sell products, and so they got to kind of reinvent the wheel.
You have to be if you're going to niche down, sometimes you have to niche down to some of the silliest shit.
Yeah.
It's like what we were talking about with the TikTok thing. If we did something educational, no one would watch it, but you put fucking trend and now everybody watches it. Or you get a video of me doing a pull-up and dragging my dick across my wife's face, and that fucking goes gangbuster. But if I give you some actual usable information, no one gives a shit. Which is exactly what happened last week when we put that pull-up video on.
It's crazy.
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
No, I don't think I saw that one. Did it go crazy again?
Yeah.
I think we'll just keep rolling from here.
Not as crazy as the trend one.
But the trend one was...
That was ridiculous.
I was really surprised about that. So how not to spot the pull-up.
that one went.
Well, yeah.
Oh my god,
that's fucking pretty funny. Though. Did
you see?
That's pretty funny.
Full dick in the face.
No, full cock. Like, you see the cock movement. Close up with that.
That's actually pretty funny. That went viral. For
I like how you got the hangover cunt in the face guy.
in the face. That's too good.
And just for transparency's sake, that was a stunt cock. That wasn't actually my dick.
Yeah.
So
I was about to say, good job, man.
I wish. I wish. Look at that. Big hands, big feet, big ass, and then I was like, what the fuck happened?
stunt cock.
God damn you.
Going.
Wait, we're on.
Well, I'll cut that. I'll work that out so that it works out well. The camera, unfortunately, just overheated.
I reckon just cut away to just this big cock. Fuck.
No, there was
No context.
So we'll just talk about like early influences, and somehow we got into like this optimal thing. But I want to go back to the early influences. Yep. Some of the original programs you ran, where were you? Were they you just got them from books, or were they like? Where were your initial like actual programs from?
Man, back then when I first started, then we didn't have the internet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like where were you?
You go to the local library and just get a book.
Yeah,
and that's it. And then my first weight set, I remember 7 or 8, and I begged my parents for a barbell set for Christmas.
Yeah.
So Santa brought me a barbell set. So it was like this weeder. It was a hollow bar, and that had concrete plates that were encased in plastic. And it came with a poster. So I just put the poster up, and I just
do the...
Yeah, I just did that. And then, there were guys in my very small town. There were dudes there that would smash weights, and they were really fairly decent at it for country boys. And so, we learned stuff from them. They're like, oh, that's this cute little 8-year-old wants to lift weights. Cool. So that, getting in the high school, starting powerlifting, really learning how to be strong.
Yeah.
And we come from a place where it's all corn-fed country boys. Everybody's strong. Everybody, because you're out working cattle and you're throwing hay, and you're digging trenches and building
farm strong. What is it? Farm strong?
Yeah,
farm boy strong?
Yeah, your farm strength, right? So you go into powerlifting. If you want to make yourself feel bad, go look at how strong Texas high school powerlifters are, and most people who think they're strong will be like, I'm not
any
that
American. Strong. The American kids are fucked at the moment.
Yeah,
and they're only getting stronger. Like, it's actually absurd how strong the American kids are.
Yeah,
it's fucked.
It's just part of their culture. It's just like inbred into the culture of just like weight training and the bench press and fucking. It's crazy.
I went and hired a new coach, because I was with Bryce for 4.5 years. But I went through Joey Flex, and I went on and sussed his coaches, and I picked the youngest guy. He's 22 years old, and he totals 860.
Yeah, at
22 years old, and I'm like, he's gonna be a fucking monster. I jumped on his Instagram. He's like just squatting 300, pulling 320. Like, it's nothing. Like RP 6-7 shit.
Yeah,
and he's 22.
Like our high school, we basically first place at every single meet we went to, and almost everybody went to state. Everybody was strong, but we had nothing to do in our hometown. It was like either fight, fuck, or powerlift, or all the above. So there's literally nothing to do in our hometown except
smoking.
Smoking meat?
Smoking meat. I mean, sorry, not
I was like weed?
Meth. Smoking barbecue is what
barbecue.
I mean. Isn't it big? It's big in Texas. Yeah, American barbecue.
Yeah, it is.
Is there a fair bit of that going on?
Tons. Yeah. Most of the top 10 barbecue places in all of America are in Texas, and they're all isolated around Austin, San Antonio area.
Yeah. Have you touched any barbecue in Australia that's come even remotely close to Texas quality?
Yeah, I haven't had much here because I just make my own, because I've got a Traeger, and I'll just do that. And I'll cheat. I'll do sous vide. I'll sous vide a brisket for like 36 hours, and then I'll smoke it for 3. It's fucking probably my favorite way of doing it.
36 hours.
Taking notes, Charles?
You just put it in a hot water
it's like 60
vacuum
degrees or whatever. Yeah.
So you don't have to do anything.
36 hours.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
Start prepping Saturday lunch.
You can see
Tuesday.
turning. It's happening.
Actually, one of the best I've had is here in Melbourne. Blue Bonnet. Blue Bonnet was really good, and then they moved to a new place, and it's shit.
You had us.
To say, let's go. I was so close.
I'll tell you a funny Blue Bonnet story. So Jordan Shallow and Ben Pekulski, they came in to do some things before COVID, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come? We're having somewhere. You want to come hang out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So I came down here, and they did the seminar, and we all hung out.
That was where I met you eating the chicken nuggets.
Oh yeah, the first day. That Friday. Yeah.
You were just. Yeah.
So I said, "Hey guys, let's go have some barbecue. I've got this great place." Right. So we go, and it's me and Jordan and Ben and his wife and his kids, and we get there, and Ben's like talking to the waitress. He goes, so do you guys have anything? You got gluten-free? They're like, no. Do you have a kids menu? No. And like everything he wanted, they didn't have. And he had looked at him. I've never seen him get irritated. And he had a look on his face like he was going to start murdering people. And I'm like, fuck, I've never seen Ben look like that.
He's such a zen bloke as well.
He's super zen, but he was getting super aggro. And I'm like, dude, we can go somewhere else. He goes, no, it's okay. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Please don't Hulk out.
Blue Bonnet.
Yeah.
Blue Bonnet?
Blue
I've
Bonnet,
never even heard of it. No, but no good. Don't go there. Where should we go then? If we want to get a fucking crazy, obviously Charlie.
Come back to Queensland
next time.
Bomb Beach.
Next time.
I think it's getting good. It's getting good, man. Australians are actually getting really good at the smoking.
Yeah,
it's just over the last few years, it's really accelerated here, and it's gotten really impressive. Used to, I wouldn't touch it. Now it's getting better. You guys just got to get better at fucking Mexican food and Tex-Mex. You guys are still shit at that.
Oh, really?
You gringo-fy everything. It's like. You know, you want you just have nice taco, man. You just have nice seasoned meat. You just need onion, maybe some cilantro, and then it's really simple. And you guys are like, fuck it, let's put sauces on everything. And then you start adding a bunch of shit you don't need. So it's like Australian Mexican food, and it's a really weird thing.
Osmex. Oz Tex-Mex.
Yeah. It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
We've been watching videos. I had a whole bunch of people around to my house like 2 Fridays ago. I think you and I were the only people that were really into what was on the TV.
I think me and you need to have a night like that, just us two.
We were watching. It was like fuck everyone else. We were watching some guys in Mississippi grill chicken thighs, and everyone's like, "What the like?" It was competition thighs. That's it, competition chicken thighs. And we were like in this, and everyone's like, "Is this what we're watching?" Like, yes, this is what we're watching.
It was his recipe on how he does it for competition.
They inject it. They inject the chicken thigh with some other
Tren.
Oh man,
Say it's
whatever they
Mississippi?
do. It was Mississippi.
They're injecting it with racism. Come here, boy. Make me some chicken thigh.
I have seen them inject stuff though before. They're like,
yeah, it was like a broth or something.
and it keeps it juicy.
Because he wanted the judge. He goes, I want the judge to take the bite. He goes, they're going to bite from here first, so they get that explosion of flavor. I was like, crazy.
It's a science, man. It's a real science.
The physics of barbecue.
Oh, bro. And we watched some other guy like charcoal barbecue for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like a live, it was unbelievable.
Man. What's your optimal temperature for smoking brisket?
Smoking brisket?
Celsius.
Oh, God, now I got to do the conversion.
No, do Fahrenheit.
We'll break out the converter.
We'll get it down.
Can Charlie hire you as a brisket coach?
I wish you hadn't asked me that because it's all written down in notes at my house. I don't actually have it memorized.
That's what we need, bro.
Fuck, man, you got to send me the notes.
I've gotten lazy now because I got the Traeger. So
what's the Traeger?
Traeger's a pellet smoker. So it's all automatic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how you extract the trend.
Yeah. And it's not a great smoker, but it does the trick, and you don't have to be there. Yeah. You can just turn it on. I can control it from my phone. I can turn it on, go to the movies.
Whoa!
Like,
so it's not
put your USB sticks fucking to bed, mate. He's got a
So how does the heat
controlled?
How does it? Because obviously not charcoal.
So they've got on the side of it, they've got the pellet box, and then it slowly puts the pellets in, and there's a small fire unit in the bottom. So then the pellets go in there, and it controls it, and everything's controlled through the electronics. So you don't actually have to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's good. I mean, it's cheating, but
it's cheating. Yeah.
But it comes out perfect every fucking time.
I think that's something though. I've got to master the art form first before I can go to that. You don't go entry level into that.
No, because you never develop the skill.
I want to learn the skill.
That's not the modern thing, though.
Yeah.
You know, guys get into bodybuilding, they immediately get on the gear. You should just immediately get into the electronic smoker and say, fuck
I just recently started getting into it. It's changed my eating at home because I'm actually getting excited. I got really bored with food. I felt like I was just cooking the same. I just felt like I was cooking the same shit every time. It was just boring. Now it's like fucking.
You're powerlifting. You just eat whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Just get jacked, get juicy.
The one thing I was going to ask before we wrap it up is you said Australians do Mexican food shit. What cuisine do we do well in Australia that you wouldn't typically get in America?
I was actually thinking about that. You get anything in America.
But you get anything, but is it good?
Yeah, and well, you got to keep in mind, America's so much different than Australia because if you go to Brisbane, you go to Sydney, you go to Melbourne, everybody's pretty much the same, just with some tweaks. Like a little more hipsters here, and a little bit more rednecks in Queensland, a little bit more pretentious $30,000 millionaires in Sydney.
Yeah.
But everything's very homogenous here.
Yeah, for sure.
In America, you go to a different state and it's completely.
It's like a new country.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like Europe of North America.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually cool.
But Texas is a good place for pretty much anything because it's such a diverse amount of people. But here, oddly enough, you guys probably disagree with me, but I think you guys, most of the Australians do Greek food really well. But there's a lot of Greeks here, so
Melbourne as well.
Yeah. The thing is, you guys don't have any Mexicans here, so there's nobody to teach you how to cook Mexican
That's
food.
what I was going to say. He's like, especially in Texas, you got the borders right there, so you've obviously got a lot of influence from them directly. Whereas, here a lot of Italians, Greeks, especially Melbourne, Asian. Like, so you got the people bringing it from the motherland.
Yeah,
direct.
100%.
The motherland.
Direct. Yeah, that's right. We'll get on the Mexican. Improve on the Mexican.
We'll find it. We'll do some research. We'll find a killer barbecue fucking place in Melbourne. And next time you're down, you can run a seminar here, and then
we'll get barbecue.
We'll get barbecue,
and then the next day we'll do barbecue at mine.
Fuck yeah!
And you can be the judge.
All right.
The special thighs, competition thighs.
I'll make some cattle pellets while you cook up the cattle, and we're good.
We're done. Easy. Yeah. We're all finished then. All done. Do you have how'd your hypertension course go? Did it launch?
Yep.
Launched?
Yeah,
Jason did it. Jason and Marcus did it. Yeah, we had a few guys jump in it.
Well, I realized that most coaches don't give a fuck about their clients' health. we thought it would be so much better than it is, and we did. It's been good.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like what we thought it was going to do so much better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then we just figured out, man, we just need to put out courses on steroids and fucking advanced training protocols that no one can use with their clients. So
I feel like a lot of, and we'll just keep this going a little bit longer. I feel like a lot of education for coaches is more for an internal quest for knowledge rather than a utility.
I think
to actually use it. You want to learn systems, you want to learn protocols or whatever, this advanced stuff, not to use it on anyone, but to just better understand it for yourself. I feel like that's a lot of what education is.
I think from my point of view of being in the education side for a long time, a lot of coaches take courses for themselves.
Yeah.
But guys, you're trying to run a business, you should probably take courses to help people so you make more money, and then that's cool. You want to go to advanced triple drop sets for fucking hypertrophy. Great. What's your demographic? If you're dealing with stressed out CEOs and single dads, single moms, and like busy people, you're not going to use that shit on people. Like, take the courses that are going to allow you to make more money, and if you're going to go do that stuff, do it for yourself. But they never do. So you have to do crazy ass seminars. Like that method seminar I did over the weekend. Super highly popular. Like, we sold those out massively, but we're trying to mix in, like, here is advanced protocol, here's a not advanced protocol, here's how you scale the advanced protocol so that everybody can do it, because there's a lot, like 6-12-25, Charles Poliquin's thing. That's a very advanced protocol, and I see coaches put people on that their first fucking session. Now, it can be scaled, but you have to understand how exercise selection and the order of exercises, how all that plays into it, and how to periodize that in, but no one knows that. German volume training is really advanced, and everybody does that.
Everyone just slams it. I've definitely slammed it.
Met people that are 6 months into gym doing GVT.
And the thing is, like, that can be a good strategy if you know what you're looking for. So you have to look at, okay, what is the specific thing I'm trying to do in this program? I've got to take somebody from A to Z. So what do I need to do? How do I fill those blanks in? I'll put it like this. You want to build a big deadlift. Okay, so you already know where you're going to end. Like, what are you going to do in the last phase? You're going to do a lot of deadlifting. Like, you have to, because you got to build the skill. And then when you go to the start, you have to look at where the client is. They have structural balance issues, poor health metrics, so the injuries, niggles. What do we need to do to get them roadworthy to get there? And then we have to fill that in with, I still love Dr. Fred Hatfield's, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. And when I look at that, the cannon is the nervous system, and the canoe is the physical structure. So if you want to put a bigger cannon on there, you have to address the fact that if your boat is leaky, you got to get the boat not leaky, so it's seaworthy. And then the larger cannon you put on there, the boat has to support that. So you have to use hypertrophy, functional hypertrophy, those types of things to build the soft tissues and the structure to support that. So when you're looking at the methods, all that stuff can be manipulated for adaptations other than what it was originally built for. So I would use in beginners GVT as a skill-based phase. if you have a shitty squat, what's the best way to get a good squat?
Heaps of squatting.
Lots of squatting. So if I'm doing 10 by 10, a back squat twice a week with submaximal weight, that's a really good way to teach them the skill of squatting really fast.
Reps.
It's probably not going to be the best for hypertrophy in a beginner. It still will, but it'll be better for an advanced person for hypertrophy.
Yeah, so you're learning to match it with the right context, and it's a fascinating thing because we're going to start getting back into I think some seminars and stuff, but trying to plan out how we're going to attack it and all of that sort of stuff because we could do some highly biomechanical stuff, but so it's interesting to see your experience because you've obviously been doing it for so long, but also back into it after COVID, so it's cool. But we look forward to seeing more stuff from you. Thank you very much for popping in.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll smoke a brisket soon, Charles.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Fuck yeah.
Done.
100%.
Ciao.
We'll do it.
Ciao.